Thanks for having us out. First of all, let's get a big round of applause for our library ladies for putting this together today. Oh my God, great event. Fantastic. Good job, ladies. Wow, it's weird to be back up here. I graduated in 2003 and haven't been back on campus in a while, so the more things change, the more they stay the same, I guess. I'm reading from A Wrinkle in Time today. It's a childhood favorite of mine. I must have read it 50 times, and this is not my original copy, unfortunately. That is in storage at my parents' house. So, but I went and bought another one because I thought, first off, why is this book banned? That's crazy. It was banned for the first time in 1985 at an elementary school in, I believe, Alabama or Florida. Go figure. And it was number 22 on the ALA list for promoting witchcraft and undermining religious beliefs. But it was published in 1962. It's a sci-fi fantasy novel. There's themes of, obviously, quantum physics and metaphysical concepts, but ultimately, this book is about love. So I think that's why it's always been one of my favorites. This passage comes from our three main characters. Meg and her little brother, Charles Wallace, and her friend Calvin have traveled to another dimension to rescue her father on a distant world. They have to face a great evil there known as It. They turned a corner, and at the end of the street was a strange dome-like building. Its walls glowed with a flicker of violet flame. Its silvery roof pulsed with ominous light. The light was neither warm nor cold, but seemed to reach out and touch them. This, Meg was sure, must be where It was waiting for them. They moved down the street, more slowly now, and as they came closer to the domed building, the violet flickering seemed to reach out to envelop them, to suck them in. They were inside. Meg could feel a rhythmical pulsing. It was a pulsing not only about her, but in her as well, as though the rhythm of her heart and lungs was no longer her own, but was being worked by some outside force. The closest she had come to the feeling before was when she had been practicing artificial respiration with Girl Scouts, and the leader, an immensely powerful woman, had been working on Meg, intoning, "Out goes the bad air, in comes the good," while her heavy hands pressed, released, pressed, released. Meg gasped, trying to breathe at her own normal rate, but the inexorable beat within and without continued. For a moment she could neither move nor look around to see what was happening to the others. She simply had to stand there, trying to balance herself into the artificial rhythm of her heart and lungs. Her eyes seemed to swim in a sea of red. Then things began to clear, and she could breathe without gasping like a beached fish. And she could look about the great circular domed building. It was completely empty except for the pulse, which seemed a tangible thing, and a round dais exactly in the center. On the dais lay what? Meg could not tell, and yet she knew that it was from this that the rhythm came. She stepped forward tentatively. She felt that she was beyond fear now. Charles Wallace was no longer Charles Wallace. Her father had been found, but he had not made everything all right. Instead, everything was worse than ever, and her adored father was bearded and thin and white and not omnipotent after all. No matter what happened next, things could be no more terrible or frightening than they already were. Oh, couldn't they? As she continued to step slowly forward, at last she realized what the thing on the dais was. It was a brain. A disembodied brain. An oversized brain just enough larger than normal to be completely revolting and terrifying. A living brain. A brain that pulsed and quivered, that seized and commanded. No wonder the brain was called It. It was the most horrible, the most repellent thing she had ever seen. Far more nauseating than anything she had ever imagined with her conscious mind, or that had ever tormented her in her most terrible nightmares. But as she had felt she was beyond fear, so now she was beyond screaming. She looked at Charles Wallace, and he stood there, turned toward It, his jaw hanging slightly loose, and his vacant blue eyes slowly twirled. Oh yes, things could always be worse. These twirling eyes within Charles Wallace's soft, round face made Meg icy cold inside and out. She looked away from Charles Wallace and at her father. He stood there with Mrs. Who's glasses still perched on his nose. Did he remember that he had them on? And shouted to Calvin, "Don't give in." "I won't. Help Meg," Calvin yelled back. It was absolutely silent within the dome, and yet Meg realized that the only way to speak was to shout with all the power possible. For everywhere she looked, everywhere she turned was the rhythm, and as it continued to control the systole and diastole of her heart, the intake and outtake of her breath, the red miasma began to creep before her eyes again, and she was afraid that she was going to lose consciousness, and if she did that, she would be completely in the power of it. Thank you.